Hi, everyone. Welcome to this year's Graphic Novel Buzz panel presented by the Graphic Novel Committee of the Children's Book Council. I'm Andrea Colvin, Editorial Director of Graphic Publishing at Little Brown Books for Young Readers. So tonight we have representatives from 9 publishers here to tell you all about one of their favorite debut YA graphic novels published this year. First, a little bit about the Children's Book Council. The CBC is the trade association for children's book publishers, and its work encompasses creating resources for teachers, librarians, and booksellers, organizing awards, and staging panels like this one that let the book community know about upcoming titles. As part of the CBC, the Graphic Novel Committee advocates for greater adoption of graphic literature in schools and libraries, and works to bring books of particular note to a broader audience. And as huge fans of the format, we of course feel the same joy that you all do when we discover an exciting new read. Before we get started, just a quick note that if you need or want closed captions for the event, you can find that feature by hovering over your toolbar and selecting the closed captions button. Now, starting us off is Spencer Nellis from Paper Cuts.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Andrea. And thanks so much to the CBC for setting this all up. And thanks so much for everybody who's attending tonight, watching here live and also watching it recorded later. So my name is Spencer Nellis. I'm the marketing coordinator at Paper Cuts Graphic Novels. We're a really great middle grade graphic novel publisher. And as of last month, we have been acquired by Mad Cave Studios. So we are now an imprint of Mad Cave, but we're still the same great Paper Cuts you all know and love. So our new graphic novel find of the year is actually kind of cheating. It's a 2-in-1. It's called The Nightmare Brigade, which came out this past February. And I say 2-in-1 is because we have 2 volumes of it out so far. We have volume 2 here, we have volume 1 here. And the Nightmare Brigade follows a group of teenagers on here, Esteban and Tristan, and they follow their dad, Professor Angus, who is a professor at the Dream Institute. And after school, they help dive into people's nightmares and try to figure out what's haunting them and what's, they have to figure out the root cause of all their fears and anxieties. So it's a little bit like it's kind of Inception meets Sandman meets it's very kind of Tim Burton-esque with the artwork. So it's a really great sort of beautiful Gothic series, a lot of twists and turns, a lot of mystery. But yeah, we've gotten a lot of great buzz for it. We've got a lot of great reviews from Publishers Weekly and from Kirkus. And yeah, it's just a really great series, perfect for right now in October and spooky season. But yes, we have volumes 1 and 2 out so far. And volume 3 is coming out next June. But yeah, so after this, you can reach out to me and I can pass along e-galleys and everything to everybody. So yeah, thanks so much. That's my section.
Hey everyone, my name is Morgan Kane. I'm the Director of Publicity at Macmillan Children's Publishing Group. Hopefully you can see what I've just shared on my screen, which is the cover of Blackwater. Blackwater by Jeanette Arroyo and Ren Graham is a debut YA graphic novel that came out this summer. Set in the haunted town of Blackwater, Maine, 2 boys fall for each other as they dig for clues to a paranormal mystery in this queer graphic novel, which was actually developed from a hit webcomic. Tony Price is a popular high school track star and occasional delinquent, aching for his dad's attention and approval. Eli Hirsch is a quiet boy with a chronic autoimmune disorder that has ravaged his health and social life. And Blackwater is the story of what happens when these 2 become unlikely friends and a whole lot more in a spooky New England town. There are werewolf curses, unsavory interactions with the quarterback of the football team, a ghostly fisherman, and lots of high school drama. Blackwater is uniquely co-illustrated by Jeanette and Ren. They actually alternate drawing chapters in their own unique and dynamic style, which makes the spreads and going through the pages really inviting and intriguing, and you never know kind of what you're going to get. Blackwater combines the spookiness of Anya's ghost with the irreverent humor of Nimona, and it's also for fans of Teen Wolf and Heartstopper. And speaking of Heartstopper, the romance is my favorite part of Blackwater. The BCCB review said, while werewolves and ghosts, bullies, and family dynamics are all worthy subjects, Eli and Tony are just so darn shippable, and the rest is all great. That's it for me.
Hello, everybody. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. My name is Katie Sains, and I am the Director of Marketing at Oni Press. And tonight I'm going to be talking to you about Space Trash, which is a debut new graphic novel series from Canadian creator Jen Woodall. This is the first in a series of 4 planned volumes following a group of high schoolers in a futuristic high school on the moon called Hypatia High. And all of these girls are there because they've been told that the Earth is uninhabitable. And so they are, taken from Earth, put on this high school, and there's really no adults or authority figures in their world, except for the robots that teach their classes and the student council snitches who are constantly looking for dirt on the other students so they can get some more leeway with the upperclassmen. So this is a fantastic book about a bunch of girls who are trying to form their own girl gang, and there's rival girl gangs and turf wars and all sorts of fun like that. But at the core, it's about wanting to get back to where they came from. So the girls are trying to find a way to escape this high school, and eventually they join forces with another girl gang and discover that there's a shuttle hidden beneath their school and it's in disrepair. So they have to join together to try and find a way to fix this shuttle and get back to Earth and discover what really happened there. So there's all sorts of amazing climate change themes and anti-capitalist themes, and also societal secrets that are slowly revealed as this series goes along. This first volume goes until the girls discover the shuttle and make a plan to fix it. And eventually it will continue on, and each installment is about 100 pages long. They're all a beautiful oversized hardcover, about the same size as the Tea Dragon Society series, if you're familiar with those. So definitely make sure to get on this book series while it's first coming out. It's brand new. It released in September. So it's Space Trash by Jen Woodall. And it's fantastic. You guys are going to love it. So I'm going to put my contact information in the chat. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Julia McCarthy. I'm an editor at Athenaeum Books for Young Readers, which is an imprint at Simon & Schuster. And I'm very excited to show you Forest Hills Bootleg Society, which is a gorgeously illustrated, funny, and honest graphic novel set in the ancient year of 2005. So when Brooke and her friends buy some bootleg anime DVDs, they accidentally end up with the titillating Super Love XL. The friends soon hatch a plan to sell the risque content to the boys in their conservative boarding school. As the demand for raunchy anime grows, the girls need more material to maintain their newfound social status. Not only that, but Brooke and Kelly are navigating a new romance, Melissa's caught in the middle, and Maggie just wants to be noticed. Tensions rise and things begin to fall apart, including their friendship. So this is by comics duo Dave Baker and Nicole Gu. It's their first trade comic book endeavor, and they flawlessly channel the complexity of being a teenager stuck in the middle of nowhere, bored by their small town. Readers will cheer for our protagonists, even as they make mistakes that lead to the implosion of their friend group. This is an honest portrayal of high school drama. So yeah, the ending is a little bit tough, but it's very honest. It's very relatable. And that's, that's it. It's also one of my favorite parts of it is that it really features anime. So if you're a fan of Dragon Ball or Fruits Basket or Totoro, you're going to get the references in here. And it's just a fun, painful teen read for everyone. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Well, this seems like a pretty nice transition from what Julia was just talking about. The book that I'd like to talk about is Thieves by Lucy Brion. Sorry, I'm Jacob. I'm the US and Canada Sales and Marketing Manager for No Brow and Flying Eye Books based in New York. So yeah, Thieves is a older teen graphic novel that is it's like a queer shoujo manga inspired high school romance. It's about a girl who goes to a party, passes out, wakes up the next day and realizes that she's stolen a bunch of stuff. And so she spends the whole rest of the book going through and trying to reverse steal everything. It's a kind of a reverse heist where she has to go through and give everything back that she stole at the party. But really, it's, you know, the art. Lucy Brion is French, but she has this art style that's incredibly inspired by shoujo and josei manga. It gives me a little bit of Scott Pilgrim vibes in that a lot of it's just kind of like what a teen goes through. It's a lot of it kind of everyday life, kids going to parties, you know, teenagers, and the color palette kind of evolves as it goes on. But along the way, she falls in love with the girl whose house the party was at the first time. Thieves is, we'd like to place it right alongside Heartstopper. We actually even got a quote from Alice Oseman for the book. She said, "It's such a sweet and funny story with complex, flawed characters that you can't help but love." We also got quotes from Molly Knox Ostertag, who did The Girl from the Sea, as well as Tilly Walden, who did On a Sunbeam. We got starred reviews from Publishers Weekly and Booklist. This book also, Nobrow, if you're familiar with us as a publisher, we really pride ourselves on the physical object of the book being really gorgeous. You know, please email me. I'm happy to send you a PDF of the book, but I really recommend checking out the physical book because we really try to print it nicely. We even splurge for French slaps on that, which is tough for us as a smaller publisher. But I really love this. It gives a little bit of Scott Pilgrim vibes, very much Heartstopper vibes. Yeah, kind of reverse shoujo inspired queer high school manga. Yeah, and that's it. I think I'll pass it along to my colleague Esther Kim next.
Folks, thank you so much for joining us today. Very excited to talk to you about the book we've got on deck. So my name is Esther Kim, and I'm on the marketing team over at Boom Studios. And I would love to introduce all of you to the perfect book for spooky season this month of Halloween. It's called Hollow. From Shannon Waters, former Boombox editor and co-creator of the best-selling worldwide phenomenon, Lumberjanes, with her co-writer, debut author Brandon Boyer-White, rising star artist Bernice Nell, and colorist Caitlin Musso, comes this supernatural, queer, romance, mystery adventure set in the infamous town of Sleepy Hollow. Isabel Izzy Crane and her family have just relocated to Sleepy Hollow, a town made famous by and completely obsessed with Washington Irving's legend of the Headless Horseman. But city slicker skeptic Izzy has no time for superstition as she navigates life at a new address, a new school, a new crush, and with any luck, with new friends. Because ghost stories aren't really real, right? So the fun part about this book, it is a queer YA supernatural mystery, romance, adventure. It's got a little bit of everything for all you fans of Lumberjanes, Feds, Giant Days. Speaking of Giant Days, John Allison, the creator of Giant Days, quotes this book as, "Halloween should be. Hollow is a little bit spooky, an awful lot of fun. Izzy, Vicky, and Croc are perfect companions for a visit to a town where the bitter is always chased down with something sweet." And then Brian North of Unbeatable Squirrel Girl and so on and so forth said, "A charming story about ghosts, demons, family curses, and figuring out who you want to be. Hollow is a creepy treat. Plus, it has a talking pumpkin, which is something all the best books have." So don't just take our word for it. Find it in a bookstore near you. It's available everywhere right now. And if you're looking for, again, the perfect spooky season book, something that's Halloween themed and a little bit of a trick and a treat for you this month, pick up Hollow in softcover and hardcover. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. My name is Christina Colangelo, and I'm the Executive Director of Trade Marketing for Middle Grade and Young Adult titles at Penguin Young Readers. Thanks for joining us today. Today, I'm so excited to talk to you about Coven, see it here, the debut graphic novel from Jennifer Dugan and illustrated by Kit Seaton. Coven went on sale last month, and while it's perfect for the Halloween season, which is a theme I'm seeing all night here, it's really a great read for any time, for anyone looking for a witchy, fast-paced paranormal thriller. And now for some very official sounding summary. MZ has always lived in sunny California, and she'd much rather spend her days surfing with her friends or hanging out with her girlfriend than honing her powers as a fire elemental. But when members of her family's coven back east are murdered under mysterious circumstances that can only be the result of powerful witchcraft, her family must suddenly return to dreary upstate New York. There, MZ will have to master her neglected craft in order to find the killer before her family becomes their next target. You might recognize Jen Dugan's name from her YA contemporary novels like Hot Dog Girl and Some Girls Do. And while this is her debut graphic novel and a jump into the fantastical for her, her endearing romances, queer representation, and signature ability to nail adolescent emotions are all definitely present here as well. And the illustrations, see here, from Kit Seaton, who also illustrated Wonder Woman Warbringer, gorgeous, and make this graphic novel a true standout. I devoured this one when I first read it, and I think it's perfect for anyone who loved graphic novels like Nimona and Paper Girls. And I'll leave you with a quote from the book list starred review of this title, quote, "Queer witchy teens, murder, and homecoming dance. What more could you want?" And that's all for me. Feel free to reach out with any questions. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Andrea Colvin, again from Little Brown Books for Young Readers, in case you forgot during all of those wonderful presentations. And I'd like to tell you about a very special book. This is Numb to This by Kendra Neely. It's a little bit heavier than all of the books that we've heard about so far, but it's ultimately a really hopeful book. It's a debut memoir about the horrors of and the healing from gun violence. Kendra Neely is a survivor of a mass shooting. On October 1st, 2015, Kendra Neely's world was shattered when a gunman killed 8 students and a professor at Umpqua Community College, where Kendra was a student. That's in Oregon. I know we tend to forget a lot of the mass shootings that happen here in the US because they're sort of so fast and furious, but I'm sure also many of you remember this one. This searing, emphatic, and ultimately hopeful graphic memoir recounts Kendra's journey back from those few minutes that changed everything. It wasn't an easy journey. It felt as if every time Kendra took a step toward peace and wholeness, a new mass shooting shattered her again. Las Vegas, Parkland. She felt hopeless at times. She felt like no one was listening, not in her classroom and not even at the nationwide March for Our Lives. But finally, Kendra learned that for her, the path toward hope wound through art and through helping others and through sharing her story. And she learned that the more she focused on making the world better for other people like her, the more she made it better for herself. It's a difficult story, but it's not without hope and it's not without lightness. And ultimately, unfortunately, it's an American story, and one that will resonate with anyone who has had to participate in an active shooter drill, anyone who has wondered, what if it happens here? What if it happens to me? I hope you'll all pick it up and share and enjoy this engaging, sweet, harrowing, but hopeful book. And I believe that's all of our presentations for tonight. We do have time for, I can put down this book now. We do have time for some audience questions, so you can feel free to enter those in the chat. And I'll start out while we're waiting for audience questions by asking the rest of our panelists, if everyone wants to come on camera again, which book they discovered tonight that they can't wait to read and share. For me, I'll start. For me, definitely 2 of them. Well, I will say while Jacob was making his presentation, I bought Thieves. So it will be arriving at my house soon from an independent bookstore. And I also already have been reading the Forest Hills Bootleg Society, which I'm really, really enjoying. And I'm excited for the book from Oni by Jen Woodall, who is an artist that I really admire. Anyone else? Just jump right in.
I'll definitely second that. I want every book that was presented tonight. Like I was writing them all down, but Numb to This sounds very much like a graphic medicine sort of book, and those are so powerful. So I definitely made note of that one, and also the Hollow about Sleepy Hollow. I love things that riff off of known stories. So those were 2 that I definitely took note of tonight.
Yeah, I'd like to second Hollow. That one looks great. I'm also just like a huge fan of Shannon Waters, and I'm really looking forward to seeing like how she does her take on Sleepy Hollow, and it's perfect for the season.
I'm super hype about Thieves, and also I'm very excited to be hearing all these references to shoujo and manga and all of that coming into our discourse about graphic novel, because I think that's such a good foundation for so many of us. Like I started reading manga and now I'm into graphic novels, and I think it's really good to kind of acknowledge that relationship. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, definitely second Julia on the importance of shoujo manga. Like, especially me growing up with 2 older sisters, like I was reading I mean, even me, I was reading all their shoujo and everything, and that just got me into work doing graphic novels as a living. So I'm definitely looking forward to Thieves. And I'm also just as a anime fan growing up in the early 2000s. I still have a few bootleg Dragon Ball Z DVDs sitting around, so I definitely want to check out Bootleg Society. So, but yeah, everybody's books have been phenomenal. My piles of books in my room are going to be growing and growing in the next few months.
Yeah, it's very cool to see. I mean, all these kids that grew up on the like kind of the first big waves of manga and anime in the 90s and early 2000s are now old enough that they're all making their own graphic novels. Thieves is interesting because the cartoonist is French, so it's like the comic's very European in some ways, but very Japanese in other ways. So it's an interesting mix of cultural perspectives on comics.
We actually have a book coming out or that just recently released called Tali, Daughter of the Moon, where it's the same thing. It's like a mix of bande dessinée and also the manga stylings. The creator is French Loation. So it's definitely something that we've been seeing more of on our end as well.
Not to pile on Jetless, but we also have a French creator who's been working out of Tokyo actually in the animation illustration, Loic Locatelli-Kornsky, and he came out with Labor Girls, which is his like magical girls inspired like bande dessinée like experience driven comics. So there's something to the fact that international comics and American comics and just all these different types of storytelling throughout the world are starting to combine those streams and influence each other. It's really beautiful to see.
Can we, I guess, unpack that a little? Because I find that really interesting. I'm, you know, I work for a trade publisher who, you know, our DNA is in books and not comics. And I'm working with people all the time who are like, hey, manga's really hot. Should we do some manga? And I'm like, okay, well, we're not a manga publisher, but you know, here are the influences that manga is having on Western comics, and here's how we can incorporate that. And here are sort of the kind of visual language we can look for and the sorts of storylines we can look for. And I think it's really interesting to hear also that there's, you know, more of a European influence too on what some of you are seeing, particularly some of you who are at more traditional comics publishers. Can anyone talk about where they think that's going and why, and sort of what they would like to see as far as sort of cross-pollination there?
Yeah, I mean, I can speak a little bit on it. Paper cuts. A lot of our titles come from France, come from Europe. As we have about 70% of our titles are international releases, and I think it's just sort of a sheer kind of reverence for the art form and the medium, especially in France. I think it's the seventh art form they consider it over there. It's up there with movies and everything like that. So for years they've treated it with such regard and everything, and that's also the same for Japanese manga and everything. And I've also noticed a lot of we also have a French artist working on a very manga inspired book coming up soon that's coming out with the Mythics. But yeah, it's just that cross pollination of people growing up with anime and it being part of this bigger stage and European comics being more accessible and everything. It's just this really great just combination of everybody's love for the art forms that I think really it's slowly getting there in the US, but it's definitely been kind of an uphill battle to treat graphic novels and sequential art as a medium, with the love that it needs.
Yeah, kind of going off what Spencer just said. I mean, my publisher, Nobrow, also, I mean, we're publishing a French cartoonist partially because Nobrow's a European publisher, so we publish a lot of Europeans overall. I do think there's plenty of Americans also doing similar great stuff. I mean, it's interesting to me working in publishing that after the kind of boom and bust of manga in the 90s and everything that happened to Borders books, that now we're getting another huge wave of that. But I walked into the Barnes & Noble at Union Square last week, and their graphic novel section now, the manga section is twice as big as the Western comic section. And maybe it's another boom and bust, but I get the feeling that it's a bit more permanent than that. And I think that I think that as Western publishers, we're having to come to grips with the fact that the kids like anime, and we gotta as we get older, everything cross-pollinates more and more. So
yeah, and that's even, I mean, the kids comics section at BNN has also tripled in size too, which is, I think, really exciting. It used to be sort of half a shelf back in that kids section. This is like, you know, younger than YA, and now it's, you know, 4 or 5 shelves. So I think that speaks to not just that we're all publishing more and more, but, you know, the consumers are buying more and more too, which is exciting. But I also think that, you know, these are readers who also enjoy manga. So, you know, how are we going to sort of give them everything they want?
If I can jump in, I think a lot of it too is process, right? I think about manga and how much of it is serialized and it's created by a larger team. Whereas when we're working on something like this, it's like 3 years of just hunkering down and creating this comprehensive story. And Andrea, I'm coming at it from also a novel perspective, whereas with manga, I mean, it's just you're churning them out and you've got so much. And so you're just gobbling it up. And I think that's why you see so much of that. Obviously, also I mean, they're fantastic stories, but I think there is this just different kind of production when we look at manga versus when we're creating something like this. And so it's maybe bridging that gap and kind of figuring out how we can create these stories that are a little more like contained and comprehensive versus doing something a little more serial, and understanding that readers want both.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, just kind of broadening our process, I think, is a lot of it.
Yeah, you know, and I think that's really important for trade publishers too. You know, during my few short years at a comics publisher where I worked with Katie, I was, you know, I learned so much about how comics are made in a serialized way where you have, you know, a lot of creators together. It's like a much different sort of collaboration than this idea of like the artiste or, you know, 2 artists just together in their garret, drawing their hearts out for years. And I think that's really interesting. I can ask another question. I'm coming up with questions that I'm hoping will be of interest to our audience. Please feel free to put your questions in the chat if there's anything you feel like we're not covering. But so, you know, I think maybe 2 or 3 years ago, or maybe more, there was a lot of talk about graphic nonfiction and how nonfiction was going to be the next big thing. And, you know, this is what we're all going to be doing. And now that we've gotten, you know, parents, librarians, and booksellers to accept the graphic format and accept that it's like actual reading and that it's a great way to convey information, we're going to be doing lots of nonfiction, things like First Seconds, science comics, history comics, maker comics, and we are publishing more and more. I'm not seeing more and more of it really. It's selling, but it's not selling the way, you know, memoir comics are, or things that have been webcomics that are really popular too. What does everyone think is going to happen?
I think that the reason why memoir comics sell so well is because there is that personal element, and it allows you to really step inside somebody else's world. Like you're seeing the characters as the creator sees them. And I think that's really special and powerful. So, I mean, we've always been looking to expand our graphic nonfiction, but we include memoir in that because it is nonfiction. So we're still seeing a lot of growth in that area, but of course with genderqueer and other books of that caliber, but we haven't really done a lot of straight nonfiction based on science series. Look at you, Andrea. Thank you.
Is anyone else doing that, particularly those of you who are at trade publishers? Or are people asking you for it?
We're publishing, so from our Who HQ, so Who Was, Who Is, we have a line now starting of the Who HQ graphic novels. I think it felt like a natural extension of what we were already doing. Like it's a cornerstone of the middle grade nonfiction market. And so obviously understand many middle grade readers are looking for graphic novels as a format that they're reading. So it just made sense. But I will say it's a different discovery game when you already have an existing brand versus when you're just kind of coming out as a singular nonfiction title where, you know, you may need to rely a little bit more on like teachers and librarians for that discovery. So I think it makes a lot of sense for Who HQ, and I'm excited to sort of see where we go with that. But I can see the challenges in a single title perspective.
Yeah, well, I mean, Hugh, I should have mentioned that because that graphic line is very successful. So that's exciting. So I hope more, I just hope it'll seed the market for us to do more nonfiction that people want to bring into their schools and libraries.
Yeah, we at Paper Cuts just launched this really cute series, Magical History Tour. I wish I had some copies with me. Oh, do you have one? Oh no, but yeah.
No,
So it's
sorry, no.
Oh, no, I
This
thought
is
you
a
were.
special bookshelf that has everything.
I thought you were reaching for one. Yeah. So there are these pocket-sized graphic novels about these two siblings, Annie and Nico, that go on these adventures through time, and so nonfiction. They just learn about different historical topics, and we've gotten a lot of demand for that because it's just kind of education in a really fun way, and they're really quick, and kids, we kind of trick them into learning. They get really excited about it, and it goes by really fast, but it's backed by a lot of really good sources and research and everything. So it's definitely an area that we really want to expand on, and teachers and librarians have really been receptive to it. So
Nice.
I mean, I think Katie talked a bit about the popularity of memoir comics, and I think when you talk about graphic nonfiction, memoir comics have been a huge part of that, whether you go back to Mouse or even recently, like the fact that a civil rights icon like John Lewis would do his memoirs as a graphic novel is huge for the medium. And and at No Brow, we've done some graphic nonfiction that's not memoirs, but I think people like, I don't know. I mean, graphic novels are a very personal thing, and I think people like the personal connection to it. I really love Box Brown did some graphic novels on Andre the Giant and on the guy who invented Tetris, and those are all fantastic. But part of why I think you can tell that the author's love of those particular subjects comes through in it, and it still feels very personal, even though they're not memoir comics per se. So I think it's a different beast when you're doing something like, I mean, science comics is fantastic, but it's I don't know. I think memoir, there's a lot you can do within memoir comics and things that you can depict in comics that are kind of unique to comics as a medium that are more difficult to convey in just written prose or in other mediums.
I think that's true. And I think you've probably hit on something that, I mean, a lot of the comics I'm always thinking about kids comics because I work at a kids imprint, and a lot of what you cited are adult comics. But I also think Box Brown's Tetris is like an absolutely brilliant piece of literary work. It's, it tells three different stories on top of each other in a way that is really exciting, and you've learned things that you didn't think you wanted to learn. But I think the point you're making, that it works best when the person creating the comic has this really strong, passionate connection with the subject matter, and that really comes out. I think there's a new one by John Chad about pinball, which is fascinating. Like, who knew? And I always say that, like, I would know nothing about economics were it not for the Abrams graphic novel, Economics with an X, that's about 10 or 15 years old now, which is just really amazing. I haven't looked at the, oh, okay, so we can wrap up unless anyone has anything else they think our audience might be interested in hearing about. I have not done a good job of checking the chat. Okay, well, we're all of us here are going to get on a book swap, so that's going to be great. And and we hope that everyone has enjoyed this conversation as much as we have. And just letting everyone know that tonight's panel has been recorded. The recording will be available within the next few weeks. And as always, you can find many resources and book lists on our website, cbcbooks.org. And thanks again to the CBC and to all of these amazing panelists from these amazing publishers and their wonderful books. And we hope everyone has a good night.